Remember what it was like to be a kid? To explore and play. To roam free all day. In Jamestown, North Carolina, we get out of the grind and escape into the moment. People feel good here. Let loose here. Eat well here. Feel swell here. We go for a ride or an afternoon stroll. We cheer each other on. And go for the goal. Here, a treasured history meets the energy of a town on the rise. In a place with true heart and soul, and where we have our own special beat. Jamestown, North Carolina, where history and possibility meet.
To call this meeting to order, will the clerk please call the roll?
Yes, Councilmember Glanville.
Here.
Councilmember Rayburn is absent. Mayor Montgomery.
Here.
Councilmember Burgess.
Here.
Councilmember Wolf.
Here.
The quorum is present.
Thank you. Please stand for the pledge. Councilmember Glanville, will you lead us, please? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow your heads for a moment of silence. Thank you. Council, do we have any additions or deletions from the agenda?
Yes, ma'am. I would like to add the appointment of Benjamin Arnold to serve as the town's high school representative as item number I on the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. And now do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Katie, do you have anyone signed up for public comment?
Yes, Robert Frederick.
Robert Frederick, 500 Windwood Drive. Mayor and council, fellow community members, I'm concerned about Jamestown's use of federal funds from the American Rescue Plan, or ARPA funds. And I particularly want to draw your attention to the word rescue. Sidewalks and park projects are mentioned in the rescue plan, but only if they serve, quote, disproportionately impacted communities. Congress made such projects in disproportionately impacted communities eligible for rescue funding, quote, in recognition of disproportionate negative economic impacts on certain communities and populations, end quote. And you all have had the federal source of those quotes in your email inboxes for a month. Have any of you responded to that email? No. Do any of the $2 million in sidewalk projects you all are planning serve disproportionately impacted communities? No. Are any of the hundreds of thousands of dollars of park projects, basketball courts, playground equipment, that you all are voting on, including tonight, in disproportionately impacted communities? No. Do we have serious infrastructure needs that could be rescued with funds from the American Rescue Plan? Yes. In fact, tonight you all are considering also a contract that will add $6 million in debt that Jamestown citizens will be paying off to a bank for 30 years. That's $6 million in debt because of water infrastructure that needs rescuing. After I spoke up last month about this, one council member told the Jamestown News that proper research had been done and that these park and sidewalk projects do qualify for rescue funding. But the person whose job it is to analyze it, the Policy Pandemic Recovery Policy Analyst for Guilford County, has not justified it. She too has had several weeks to respond and has not. And several hours before this meeting, I sent you all an email reminder of that lack of response and lack of justification. I don't know what steers your moral or ethical compass, but I ask you to consider 4 questions. 4 questions that Rotary members will recognize. So as you consider your decisions, both decisions behind you that you can change and decisions ahead of you, including tonight, please ask yourself, 1, is it the truth? 2, is it fair to all concerned? 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? The true measure of a community is not how it treats its wealthy, but how it treats its poor and vulnerable, those in disproportionately impacted communities. Please spend the ARPA money as Congress intended, including the water infrastructure here in Jamestown that needs rescue. Thank you for your consideration.
Catherine Billings.
Hello, thank you. I'm Cookie Billings, 309 River Drive, and I am a genuine Jamestown resident, 26 years now. My great-grandparents lived in Jamestown. I have that connection, and their children entered in the first classes in our beautiful Jamestown school in the early 20th century. I knew well the first mayor of Jamestown. I knew and loved our beloved Bo Stafford. I interviewed Charlie Turner, the first town manager. I have even read the minute books beginning in 1947, so I know the visions, the history, the why, and the how that this town was incorporated. In my work with Jamestown, I had a major role in management of personnel and creating positions as needed, as well as taking the town through the changes that come from operating with pencils and typewriters to what we all now take for granted as computer systems. I did this working with a manager who actually never cut on a computer, but he did realize we needed to make the change, and he turned me loose to do it. Managing change and leading transition always is accompanied by drama and certainly resistance, but the vision for the future is important, and sadly, sometimes people just wish to shoot the messenger. I appreciate the educated and experienced guidance that is critical for staff to provide to the council and citizens, but the most important tool in the toolbox is trust. The lead staff in Jamestown has my trust because they earned it, and I only hired and kept experienced people with high ethical standards and people who have vision to look beyond today and see the Jamestown future generations will love. I've lived through the changes the community has needed to make into the 21st century, and I see the wonderful benefits we have gained: improved administrative controls, ownership of water resources and sewer systems, fabulous park and recreation programs, a vibrant Main Street, commercial properties bringing in exciting increases in tax revenues to help maintain our infrastructure and expand services. I am grateful for this staff. I hired them and when they were young, and I have watched them plan with the community. They're old now. and this council, and in the distant future, I wish for them to retire as I have and observe their visions that have come to reality and enjoy the pride of, I helped build and lead that. Jamestown citizens and those who wish they were Jamestown citizens support and be grateful for this extraordinarily talented staff. Under three? All right.
Thank you.
John Capes.
Bring something bigger to read because my phone's too small. John Cape, 704 Neal Drive, Jamestown. Council, employees of the town, everybody, I just want to say up front, you're doing a great job. Anybody that says anything to the contrary is just trying to get some camera time or to hear their voices heard for the 4,000th time. I did want to clear the air on one thing. There was a question raised at the last meeting about how people get on the planning board or how I got on the planning board. And I just want to make sure everybody knows that if you go to the website, there's this wonderful thing where you can actually print out a form and fill it out and then bring it in and drop it off, and then y'all get it, and that comes down the pipeline. I don't know why that's such an amazing concept, but you know, you have to volunteer if you want to actually do something as opposed to complaining about other people who volunteer. Speaking of which, there's been a lot of rumbling about ARP funding. I think I've heard that recently. And how it's being used and what it's being used for. And realistically, it's pretty simple to see. And quite frankly, having been on the council myself at a point, we went through painstakingly to make sure that everything that we were doing, the I's were dotted, the T's were crossed. I know for a fact they're still dotted, they're still crossed. And the only questions that need to be asked of yourselves is, you know, how soon can we get it done and what needs to be done? I was wondering, because I pulled up a list of the things that are part of this, which include ADA adaptive panels, roller slide for children with cochlear implants, ADA accessible gliders, rockers, you know, different things that go through and help folks that couldn't enjoy our existing playground because it's old and the equipment is old. And, you know, you have to be against taking care of kids with disabilities if you're going to sit here and try to pull back on the funding and try to say, well, let's create some static because Lord knows we can't use the funding for this, when in fact we can. It is legal. It has been vetted by everybody up and down the pipeline, and God knows we asked enough questions. I know I was there for a few of them. So I think that's a bunch of bunk. And I just want to say again, you guys are doing a great job. And that's all I have to say about that. Under 3 minutes?
Under 3 minutes?
Outstanding. 3 minutes. Good time frame. Thank you, folks.
Nobody else signed up.
Okay. We've added something new to this meeting called the Council's Community Corner. And I believe Councilmember Wolf has something she would like to present.
Yes, I'm thrilled about this. This is our first, let's see, Bob Calva, Mickey Taylor, would you please come up from the Jamestown Rotary Club? And it is my great honor this is our first certificate of recognition that we're going to have a community corner, council community corner. And we are presenting this to you in recognition of hosting the Bow Staff Memorial Golf Tournament to raise money for Feeding Lisa's Kids, which, as you know, that's Lisa Holly, who is the owner of Southern Roots here in Jamestown. So these guys, they are Jamestown Rotary, and they help the Jamestown community. You're going to do your Jamestown Christmas Parade, which I forgot how many years it's been. And the horse show, which my business has been involved with both also. And you just recently got school supply for Jamestown Elementary School. So you're definitely deserving of this award. And we thank Jamestown Rotary for all you do for Jamestown.
Thank you, Martha.
Thank you, Martha. That was great.
I have something to recognize, too. We had 3 people in Jamestown turn 100 years old.
Oh.
Either in August or coming up in September. And that is Emmett Garrett, Ann Manning, and Reba Rooks.
Reba Rooks.
And so we have prepared certificates for them that we will be mailing to them, and we just wanted to recognize.
Well, I'll say that deserves a big hand. that's awesome.
Okay, now we'll get down to business. Matthew, you're up on the first order of old business.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As a partner in the Piedmont Triad Regional Water Authority, which I will refer to as PTRWA, the town is obligated to participate in updates to the facility to address emerging contaminants. Additionally, the town has elected to participate in the facility expansion to further ensure that there is adequate water capacity for the town in the future. At this time, PTRWA is seeking interim financing for these projects and has provided the attached documents for consideration by the governing boards of each of its partners. And I have been through that with each of you, but if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer what I can, but we also have Greg Flory, the Executive Director of PTRWA, and Rich Glover, our the board chair, and our town representative, as well as Paul. Paul's my go-to expert. You have specific questions for me?
Any questions for Matthew?
Well, I mean, I have several things to go over. I don't know who to direct it to.
I'll do my best.
Whoever
I'll
wants to
call
chime
them.
in can chime in. And I will say, full disclosure, I have gone over with staff and also with Rich Glover this afternoon, just because it's a lot of information in the contract. And of course, it was done by attorneys, and I'm not an attorney, so I had to verify. But I just want to make sure that I was really getting the grasp for just an average person, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Water is very important, of course.
Sure.
And it's going to be important in the future. I think water is going to be a big deal. And just as the town did many years ago in preparing for the Randleman Reservoir and putting monies aside for it so that we could pay and be a member, I think that's what we're doing here too. I saw what the original plant was 12 million gallons per day, and this 2024 project is 26.7 million gallons per day for the total capacity. And so Jamestown will be, one, we're increasing our allocation, or what we can have in the future. And then also this plant, of course, will be having the most up-to-date technology there is in cleaning and treating the water.
That's correct.
Which, again, that's a big deal. And I think this is to be done by when the EPA has their regulations out, which I think, Rich, did you say that's in 2 years? 27?
2027.
So, you know, and the other thing I wanted to talk about was, and this is what is a Paul question, there's been talk about if we have excess, we're paying for water that we're not using. And I think we came up with, there was 575,000 excess of the allocation that we're not using, but we don't pay for it if we don't use it. We have the ability to get it.
Correct. If, with the expansion, we would
With the
have
expansion.
575,000 that's not being routed to Jamestown. Yes.
And I think that was important for folks to realize that just because we have that allocation, we're not going to pay for it if we don't use it.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. Those were main things I wanted to clear up. I don't know if anybody else.
Thank you for that explanation, Martha. I think that put it in terms.
Well, I
of
have to put
we
it
can
on a
all
really
understand.
low level for me, so I mean, other people have a higher understanding, but that's the way I was getting it, yeah.
Any other questions for Matthew?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for Rich?
Well,
We satisfied everything we need to know at this point.
you know, I feel like, and the rate that we get, the water sewer rate we get from the Water Authority is less expensive than what Greensboro High Point, because we do have the ability to get from Greensboro High Point, but their rate is always more. So that's what people would have to pay more. And something I had, or really just sort of escaped me, we do have the ability with the excess, we can sell that as well, you know, in the future. Greensboro, with all going on there, I would think they would be a customer at some point. So it's not like that's something that won't be useful in some way. You know.
Would you like to put that in the form of a motion?
Well, if you would like me to, unless there's further discussion. No? Okay. Well, I would make a motion to approve the revised joint governmental agreement with Piedmont Triad Regional Water Authority and allow the town of Jamestown to execute any necessary documents to permit Piedmont Triad Water Authority to seek interim financing for the projects herein and authorize the town manager, assistant manager, finance director, and town attorney to execute documents as necessary.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And now, council, I need a motion to approve the resolution.
I make a motion to approve the resolution of the town of Jamestown concerning the town's obligations under its joint governmental agreement among the town, Piedmont Triad Regional Water Authority, and other local governments as set forth in said resolution.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And I need a second motion to approve a resolution authorizing and approving the bond anticipation.
You want me to? Yeah. Council, well, I make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing and approving bond anticipation notes and the amendment and reinstatement of a joint governmental agreement as set forth in that resolution.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, council. And Paul, we have approval of a meter reading contract with Ferguson Enterprises to review.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We received a proposed contract for the installation of an advanced metering infrastructure, water meter reading system to improve our existing system. This will allow us to read meters at least bi-monthly. We do that manually now. It'll also allow for real-time reading of meters. It also, because we can get some advanced meters, it'll allow us to monitor pressures in remote areas of our system, in addition to some operation of certain meters. We won't get all the meters that have the automated features, but we'll use them in certain applications. This is a proprietary product for the meters that we used, and Ferguson Enterprises is the sole source for North Carolina. This is included in the 24-25 CIP, and we request that the town council award the contract to Ferguson Enterprises LLC in the amount of $193,717.25.
Paul, I have just one quick question. With this being a technology device, because I didn't see anything in here unless I just overlooked it, but I wanted to make sure that this device actually protects the data and security of information collected from the customers. Is that something that we are sure that it's protected? Because
I am not a software or hacking expert, but
right.
all of these companies that are in this market, that is a huge part of their operation, is to protect the integrity of the data, because there is a lot of data people can derive out of if they figure out how to get it. But this is, it has a very good track record from what I understand. It doesn't have a history from, and I don't think any of these systems from other companies either. That is a huge consideration in the design of the products.
Thank you.
Was this amount within the estimate?
Yes, it was.
Budget
We had $200,000 was the estimate.
Good. I mean, well, not good, but good that it
Little
came under budget, yeah.
Yeah, slightly less, yeah.
Any other questions for Paul?
No, I was just surprised that the place where I buy my faucets also does this. I was like, oh, it can't be the same Ferguson. I saw the logo. I was like, it is the same Ferguson.
It's the same umbrella. I mean, it's,
Well, I would make a motion to award the contract to Ferguson Enterprises LLC in the amount of $193,717.25, and to allow the town manager and the finance director to execute all the documents.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
thank you.
And Scott, we have playground equipment to discuss.
Again, Scott gets the fun stuff, while Paul has the boring stuff.
That's not too bad for me. Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. I just want to start off by just giving a reminder of where we're at as far as the playground and how it all started. The town of Jamestown was awarded an Accessibility for Parks grant in 2023. The AFP program provides $10 million for parks and recreation grants, to benefit children and veterans with disabilities in North Carolina. The program is administered through the North Carolina Division of Parks and Recreation and the North Carolina Parks and Recreation Trust Fund. The matching grants can be used to build accessible facilities or adapt existing facilities that meet the unique needs of children and veterans with all types of disabilities. Local governments can request a maximum of $500,000 with each application and must match $1 of local funds for every 5 in grant funds. When we started the process, staff went and visited some playgrounds in the area to get an idea of what we might be able to achieve. That was really fun research. We may have enjoyed it just a little too much, but we did speak to other park superintendents, directors, for any advice to see what worked well, and more importantly, what didn't work well and what not to do at all. I learned a lot about inclusivity and the different types of equipment and the unique needs of all individuals. There's so many details in the playground design, from climbers and sensory panels and even roller slides for people with cochlear implants who can't go down a regular slide because the static will reset their hearing aids. When staff met with local schools to determine the needs and challenges of their students with physical and developmental disabilities, we spent time at Hayes Inman, we spent time at C.J. Green, talking with the principals and teachers about the struggles they have. We were even invited and attended the pre-K graduation ceremony at Hayes Inman. We've met with families that were at Jamestown Park playing with their kids and talked to them about their needs. And we took all that information and went to work. I can honestly say this process has been a real eye-opener. The staff at Jamestown created and released an RFP to accept sealed bids to replace the old playground at Jamestown Park. We received proposals from 6 different playground companies, all with their best designs. Staff reviewed the bids and scored the proposals based on the scope outlined in the RFP. The score of work, the overall design, and that best fit the needs of the town is how staff determined the final award. When staff scored each proposal, we didn't discuss the score we gave to each project. And when we finished, we all had the exact same rankings. So we were all in agreement with that. We do have the proposal tonight in front of you is the one that ranked the highest. We have to make a few adjustments still, so this is not the final design, but it is close. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I appreciate all the support from council and mayor, and of course Rebecca and Anna Haverluck, who has put a lot of this grant stuff together for us.
Any questions for Scott that we haven't addressed?
Go ahead. Of course, you did say, well, you had more than one bid? You had several bids?
6.
We had 6.
6, okay. And you were able to see some of the actual projects that Cunningham Recreation did?
Yes,
see
ma'am.
their work? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Keeley Park in Greensboro is one.
Okay, all right, good. And I appreciate the sketch. A visual just helps so much, you know?
I agree.
It really does. And so this is what the volleyball court will need to be moved before we can start this, obviously. Of course, once awarded, if it's awarded, they have to order the playground equipment, so you hope coordination of that timing works out.
Yeah, and those are some of the things we're working with, because we would like to try to get the natural play area done, so when we close the playground, that there's something for people out there. So it's going to be all in the timing, but of course, like the pour and play rubber surfacing, you can't do it when it's super cold, so
Yeah.
there's some items we may have to keep it closed a little bit longer till, I would rather go a little bit longer than try to rush the project and mess it up. So it might be first of the year, but there's possibility it could be done before December, the end of this year.
I was just going to say, too, you know, we talked about this last time, this wasn't in the paper, but we talked about as far as Jamestown Park services, High Point, Greensboro, all of Guilford County, and young and older people of all socioeconomic varieties, abilities. This, of course, will open it up to even more for people with challenges. So it's not, when they keep saying it's an affluent neighborhood, it's not. Really, all of the park is on East Fork Road, and there's not affluent neighborhood across the street. I don't know if you're, but, and then with the sidewalk, of course, you're connecting all the schools and a community college, Yorkley Apartments, as you had talked about. So, and I'm sure we would not have been awarded these things if these were not the requirements in there. So I think it's awesome, and I'm glad you were able to get someone to bid it, that you were able to see their work and feel comfortable with them.
And as soon as we, if approved, and we're able to sit down and tweak the design and get it all finalized, we'd like to, move forward with releasing it to the public. But we don't want to just release this because this is not the finished product yet, so.
Yeah.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, and so Scott, I know you said this is not the finished product. In the finished product, are we anticipating the shade cover will be about what's here? Because that's really nice, because right now it is blazing hot out there. So
Yeah.
the shade cover, I was very impressed by all that.
Yes, ma'am. That was
Great.
one of when we spoke with the schools, the administration of the schools and everything, that was one of the things that they really stressed. And I understand that that playground is not in any kind of shade.
Yeah.
I've been out there with my children when it was hot and the slides were hot, so. But yes, the shades were included in the RFP. That was one of the points that they had to achieve.
Great, the pale people of the world.
I get it, trust me.
But I will say too, this is probably not well known, but a lot of people who have disabilities, the medication they take makes them very prone to sun
exposure.
Yes, what's the word I'm looking for?
Sunburn.
Sunburn, thank you. Sunburn. So, I don't know if that's one of the reasons why they do it, but it's going to be appreciated by all, I'm sure, so.
Yeah, well, plus caretakers and,
Yes.
they'll be able to sit in the shade or use the exercise equipment that's off to the side or whatever it may be. And even the exercise equipment has a shade over it.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah, it's great.
Any other questions? Do you have a motion, council?
Oh, yes. I make a motion to award the contract for universal playground equipment to Cunningham Recreation with a cost not to exceed $600,000 and allow the town manager and finance director to execute all documents.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, Scott.
Thank
We
y'all.
appreciate all of your hard work on that.
Thank y'all for your support.
Matthew, you have a manager's report for us?
Thank you, and good evening again. The first item on my list here is the award of an accessible playground contract. So thank you very much for doing that. I think that's going to be a phenomenal addition to the park. And Scott and Rebecca Ashby have worked very hard on securing funds for this, so it comes without any cost to the taxpayers. We have, as you know, at the last meeting, we awarded contracts for shelters, basketball courts, and the natural playground equipment, and as Scott said, work will begin soon. Our Main Street waterline replacement project, talking with Paul about that a few days ago, we talked about the fact that he's been working on an updated set of specifications for the bid package, but some other projects have taken precedence in the recent months. And with the onset of winter, we'd like to delay that project until February for bidding purposes, just to make sure that we can hit the springtime window. Oakdale sidewalks, Beth brought me a right-of-way agreement that has been signed and executed and recorded just this evening, so that's underway. There are some, as we said, updates that are going on with the design, and the engineers are still working on that. That will be sent back to DOT for their final approval, and we're continuing to work on right-of-way and easement acquisition. A Penny Road Waterline project, we're looking at probably a little bit later this fall, do a request for qualifications for qualified designers for that project. The Oakdale Cotton Mill aerial replacement, as you know, at last meeting we approved a contract not to exceed, and we were able to get that number down just a little bit. I think the total was about 23,000 or so. That was a little bit less that we were able to negotiate down. So that's been, all we're waiting on now, we've signed the documents, the contracts. We're waiting on their certificates of insurance and those types of things we need to do to set them up as a vendor.
So that should start pretty soon? Couple,
We hope it will start very soon. We're just waiting on them to
okay.
finalize the COI, E-Verify, and W-9, that type of stuff, so.
Good, good.
Let's see here. The ARPA sidewalk projects, Jason's been working with our contractors to find a suitable start date. The thing that's really holding us up there is trying to get utility conflicts resolved. So we're working with Duke to make sure that happens as quickly as we can. East Main Street and Millis Road sidewalk projects are currently under design. We had quite a number of participants in that. We got some good feedback, so they are incorporating that into their design. Let's see here, and this is no shocker. On August the 23rd, the town learned that it would be receiving a $500,000 grant to install new handicap-accessible playgrounds at Jamestown Park, not playgrounds, bathrooms. I apologize. Those funds will be coupled with an additional $200,000 grant from the state to finalize those ADA accessible bathrooms, which is an incredible addition to a playground that's going to be accessible for all. I want to congratulate Rebecca and Scott for their determination in seeing that through. And I think it's worth noting that the town has received just over $5 million in grant funding in just the past 18 months. And Rebecca individually has been instrumental in obtaining just over $1.2 million of those funds. That's an incredible feat for somebody who's just been here just under a year.
Yeah.
That represents a cost savings of just over 83 cents on our tax rate that citizens get the benefit without any cost. The town will be unveiling brand new websites for both the town and the golf course in the coming weeks. We plan to give an update of that most likely at the October meeting. We're just making sure that we can get them up and going first. To highlight some of the new features of the site, we're very excited to share those with you. The town's Leafer, North Carolina fellow, Deborah Mullis, who is here this evening, has been working on the town's first Citizens Academy, which will be held this spring. And she's working to get contact information for anybody who may be interested in participating. This is not the guarantee that you'll be selected. It's just if you're interested in participating, she would like to get your information so she can keep in touch with you. There's a link on our social media site to a Google form that you can fill out, and that populates a table. And we would be glad to bring that to you here in a few months. But that new link will also be on our website, the new website. So we're not updating this website as quickly just because it's going to be shelved. New website is coming, hopefully very, very soon. So if you have questions about that and you can't get it to work on social media site, please give us a call at Town Hall, 454-1138, and Deborah can walk you through that, or she can take your information and fill it out for you. I am happy to report that the season finale of Music in the Park is going to be held on Friday, October the 4th with 80s Nation. And if you have any recollection, 80s Nation is one of the most popular bands we've ever had, and they pack it out. So in anticipation of a larger crowd, Scott's been working with a company to help us close this section of Guilford Road between Mendenhall and Main Street. So that will allow a little bit more safer access to the park for people crossing. It will alleviate the automobile conflict, and it will give us some room to put more food trucks. And we've got some special guests coming. My understanding is we're going to have Batman. I think we're going to have the Ghostbusters. We're looking at trying to get Knight Rider here. So there's going to be lots of stuff. I think we're going to bring out the antique fire truck. So weather permitting, it's going to be a fantastic event, and we're going to send it out in style. Scott is working on trying to get some additional food vendors. I think he's got several lined up, and he's been working really diligently on making sure that we've got you covered. That's all I have, unless you have specific questions for me.
I have a question, Matthew, on the Oakdale sidewalks. I know Jason is working with the property owners to sign the agreements, but I want to ensure that the property owners fully understand the terms of the agreement. So I'm certain that if they have questions, yes, but I think it's
Sure.
important that
He
they
spends-
understand the terms of the
He
agreement.
does spend a lot of time with them, and of course, they're welcome to engage their own attorney if they feel like they need to. It's a very transparent process. Everybody gets the same terms. There's, you know, it's not a, it's a form document. So we have been sharing that with the folks up and down that area that need to have right-of-way acquired.
Okay, and I'm certain that the website is going to be a little bit easier to navigate, right?
It's going to be what?
Easier to navigate.
Easier to navigate. Yes, there's a lot of great features on this website. Dana Benson in our office has taken on that responsibility, and has just done a phenomenal job while juggling some other major projects that she's got on in the background. It's going to be a much easier to navigate site and much more streamlined to find
Right.
information.
Okay,
Yep.
good.
And it's easier for us internally to update. So that was one of
Yeah.
the key things that we had to do. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Did you have any committee reports, Council?
Well, we had a TAC meeting on August the 27th, and the committee did go through the prioritization process of regional projects, but that goes to DOT, so then you see how long it comes back from DOT. They have canceled the meeting for next week. The next one will be October, and we will then be prioritizing more of the regional projects, or district, which would be more of one is about the pedestrian bicycle project that I talked about, which we're trying to get in, so maybe we'll finally get something on that. And then we had on September 11th, there was a part meeting, but it's, again, a regional about transportation. There's nothing very specific to Jamestown.
We did not have a planning board meeting scheduled in September. We are looking forward to having one in October 14th. If we do not, then I'm certain that we'll have one in November, and that would be great because we'll be able to, welcome in our new planning director, and he hopefully will be ready at that point. So we look forward to that.
Thank you.
Well, schools went into session, and then I promptly left my husband to deal with that and went on vacation. So, without him or my children. So I have nothing to report because I have not been here. But I hopefully will next month.
Well, it's a good thing we're getting Ben Arnold
I
to help you with this procedure.
know.
Did Parks and Rec have a meeting?
No.
Okay, so Rebecca would not have
We have one scheduled for October.
October 2nd. Ray, anyone sign up for the second comment period?
Yes, Karen, listen.
Well, this is my outline that I made while I was back there on my knee. I'm Karen Luzumi. I live at 116 Village Drive. I have been here roughly 40 years. Came here with a textile company and have now retired from textiles. The first thing I want to mention to all of you is the fact that there's been a lot of changes since I've been here in 40 years. I moved here from Georgia and was actually living in Burlington, but got to know a little bit about this area and really liked it. It was small, it was quaint. I always thought it was kind of in the middle of nowhere when I moved here in 1980. But since that time, there's been tremendous changes, and I am very proud of the changes that the town has made. I've known a lot of the mayors myself personally. I've known the town managers. Just been a good combination of people. But I come here and I hear people talking and giving talks, and it always seems to be somewhat on the negative side, or what y'all are doing wrong, but they don't ever really offer a suggestion as to what could be done differently, or to help you make decisions. It just always seems to be kind of like a cat fight, I guess. So, some of the things that have happened since I've been here, I think I'm correct that the first big argument that was going on when I came, or shortly thereafter, was a combination of the 3 school systems, which went on for, seemed like forever to me. Then the next thing that I remember was the bypass controversy around Jamestown. That also went on for a number of years, and I actually ran for the town council as kind of a challenge, right off the cuff, really, about that, because I really thought that was a good idea if you were looking forward and not backwards, and how it was going to hurt Jamestown rather than maybe help it in the future. And the last controversy that I know of is this Johnson Farm stuff. Well, if I'm not mistaken, I got a feeling there were trees when Forestdale was built, east and west and then east. I actually believe they were still building out to some degree Forestdale East when I moved here, but I might be a little bit wrong about that. So there's just a lot of things that have gone on. I know the year that I ran for the town council, the big thing was the tennis courts were going to be taken out over at the...
Yeah.
Oh, boy, that was a lot. I got a lot of votes on that one because I told them, I went along with, yeah, it shouldn't be done because I did like the tennis courts. And the other thing was this bypass situation. And I think I probably was about the only one that was running that was in favor of that. So every year, every different, there always seems to be something else. So I just want to give y'all a big thank you for what you do. And I hope that if I can ever be of any help, you'll call on me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Do you have anyone else signed up?
Nobody else signed up.
Any other business, council?
I was just going to say, I did want to give a little shout out. It wasn't necessarily for the community corner, but I was on a bike ride, several weeks ago, but since our last meeting, and a friend of mine, her tire blew out right there on Harvey Road, and so we pulled into someone's driveway so she could change her tire. We were not very far into our ride, and we were going, oh Lord, I think 50-plus miles. And out came Jonathan. I didn't even know it was his house. And he came on out and asked if we needed any help changing the tire, do we need any tools or anything? And so it was just very pleasant to see that even off-duty, this was on a Saturday, that, Jamestown residents and staff are willing to help out their neighbors
Nice.
when
Well,
they
how
are
nice.
just strangers in their driveway.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that with us. Any other business? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, Councilman. Thank you.